up. Can't remember what I done first last time. Hello, welcome back. Sorry, we had a power failure. Jenny ran out of fuel. We're running off generator at the moment because our solar controller blew up. And then we ordered a new one and it arrived and it didn't work. So we've been in a journey since then as how do we get our controller back, a new one, replace the new one that didn't work. And we're waiting. It's on its way from China, and yeah. So we currently run off generator each day, which we worked out it's about 15 litres a day, which means we worked out $1 hour every litre for our Jenny. So it's costing us about $35 a day. $35. Yeah, which I guess is an operating expense at the moment. But yeah, if we had the solar, we'd be spending zero money on a daily basis. But there is that upfront cost, which was $800 for the controller. The controller is like a 5 kilowatt inverter with a battery regulator and generator switchover. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little system. But when you have one part of that system fail, the whole thing fails, and that's the problem. But it is an overall controller of the system, so it adds benefits of simplicity of use and simplicity to set up as well. So welcome back to the Boh Sho. We are... Where's my glasses? We are recording from mindfulearthSanctuary in Carrydale, Western Australia. We are a community, building a community that is based on freedom and trust and respect. I think that's 3 pillars that we're talking about that are essential for a community to function correctly in harmony. And so you got your 3 pillars: trust, respect. What was the other one? And on top of those pillars, just totally forgot what I was talking about. What happens when that happens on a podcast? There you go. Okay, came back. You have the 3 pillars, and on top is harmony. And that is the ultimate goal of any community, is for it to be in harmony. And how do you define harmony? Well, you define harmony as all the people in the community, in the group, are happy, joyful, loving their experience of living in that community. We were just talking earlier about in Bhutan, they have incorporated the happiness index, and it seems like that might be the only country that I'm aware of in the world that takes their decision-making policies of the government. The aim is to bring the people into harmony, and harmony is not necessarily wealth. Harmony is also connection with each other. How much mental health is in the society or in the system? Like how is the mental health of each individual person in your community? And we need to gauge that. And how do you gauge that? Like, I love the idea that I always think with Mindful Earth that our KPI, like our key performance indicator, is that how many relationships have occurred here, how many people have connected on a level that they've fallen in love. So it's really those KPIs. So you have number of relationships, maybe even number of babies. Yeah, you're, and then the success of the relationships. You could utilize that. There's utilizing different type of KPIs to show the harmony of your system, your community, your tribe, your people. Now, if the Australian government was to do a harmony study rather than a survey like we do the what do they call the survey that we do every the census shorts?
Consensus.
The census every 4 years. You know, like the questions that they give you though are so dry. They don't ask, are you happy? Do they? Why wouldn't they ask, are you happy? On the census. To me, that would be one of the first questions. Are you happy? Are you anxious of the future? Are you happy? Are you excited about the future? What are your worries? Like, these are all things that we should be asking our population. And I really don't think they ask those questions. They're all like, what's your salary? What's your occupation? How many family members are there? Like, just such bland stuff. Yeah, we need to really start to question that. It's like, what is our priority in our society? What is the priority? And I think we've managed our priority has been this idea of wealth. Somehow our priority in what we seek in our life is gaining wealth, where I would like to suggest that our priority should be gaining truth, gaining raising your consciousness, expanding your mind, like finding that joy and passion in your life, being overflowing with love. Like, these are the things we should be seeking. And we are told that to find all those things, it's through asset accumulation, working hard, even though the work you're doing is maybe not your passion, but it makes a lot of money. And I lived that world. I had a very beautiful job, like a high-paying job as an engineer in the oil and gas industry. I was in a position of authority. As a supervisor, I was sort of driving projects, my own boss in some ways. It was a very, very good job. I could manage my time. Yeah, very good job. But there was always something missing, and that was the difficulty of being able to separate or realize what was missing. And the biggest problem is what you don't know doesn't, what you don't know can't hurt you. That's true. But if you don't know if there's a better option, then you're sort of missing out. It's like finding out what is the better option. And when you're already in a good job, it tends to hold you from seeking those passions, because you're content, but you're not thriving. It's like this subtle, it's good enough. It's like settling on something, but you know deep down it's not really the right thing. And for me, over time, I just lost interest in my job. I lost interest in putting in a good effort, and I realized that my integrity was being affected because I wasn't performing as good as I was in the past because I just wasn't interested anymore. I wanted to get in the country and start building this community, or building retreats, running retreats. So it's been to get from there to here has been an amazing journey, but you never really know where you're going to end up. You've just you have a gut feel, okay, well, this is not right for me and this is where I want to head, but there's so much unknown when you jump out of those type of jobs, especially because it's comfortable. You got your monthly salary, you're told when to turn up to work and when to leave, you get your lunch break, you get to go home at night, you work. It's everything's scheduled for you, so it's pretty comfy. But there's something missing. It's sitting in front of a computer desk all day. There's a little bit of soul destruction going on. I was lucky. I used to listen to podcasts while I was working. I managed to do that for a couple of years. Just put my headphones on, listen to podcasts, audiobooks. So I was always learning still, because I was in the industry for 18 years. So it got to the point where I wasn't learning much anymore, and that's when I needed to learn. I'm always wanting to learn and push boundaries of my understanding. Always seeking more truth, more understanding. Hey?
Can I have a pop of that, please? Oh, no,
Jesus.
I'll roll one out of here. It's all good.
Sure?
Yeah,
No,
mate.
you can.
No, you enjoy
There's
that.
not much
no,
left.
you enjoy that.
We have a tobacco shortage.
Yeah.
I have a packet somewhere, and I'm not sure where. Yeah, they say that what are the two hardest things in the world? What are the two most addictive things in the world? First is heroin, a very hard drug to get off. I believe I haven't tried it because I was always feeling that I have this addictive personality. I like to do things. So if I was to try heroin, am I then opening up a whole can of worms of temptation? So I never tried it. I didn't want to risk that chance. For a long time I was like, maybe I wouldn't be able to, it would take me over. So I never tried heroin. So yeah, that's the first most difficult thing, giving up heroin. But the second one is a monthly paycheck, because it really does make us comfortable. We really, and that security, this is security that we crave, humans crave. But by craving this stability, we lose our opportunities, what you can do in this world. And this is a really important thing to understand. Like, the way the universe, I believe, works is you have to be in the unknown. You have to be in that flow state. You have to not, when you're in the flow of life and you're just moving wherever you're guided, by being in that flow state, you have to be in a state of letting go, and that may mean letting go of your monthly paycheck. And then because if your passion, say, is to make beautiful beard jewelry with sterling silver type thing, and you want to make that business work, you're in the unknown, because you don't know for sure if it's going to be successful. You don't know how much money you're going to make. You don't know how much time is required. You also find that as a business creator, you have to be the self-starter. No one's telling you to get to work at 8. No one's telling you to get to leave work at 5. Like there's all these like guides to, and so in a way you can be a little bit lazy. Lazy, is that the right word? You can be a bit of slack. It's just, oh yeah, I'm told this is where I need to be. But once you start creating your own business, your own passion, it's only you. No one else is going to tell you what to do. And there was a big transition for me, moving from living in that world of structure to moving to a farm and having no one telling me what to do. Have to balance the books. Nothing's going to get done if you don't do anything. Where in a company, it's always moving forward because there's more people that can help with that, the work that you're doing, and the structure's already there. But yeah, jumping out into the unknown is all about your self-startingness, your motivation, your inspiration, and it really becomes apparent that it's only you who can make your life. But it's one of the most, that's how you need to be in that state, because then opportunities arise. Like you have to be out there in the unknown for the universe to be able to offer what you want. It's really, really interesting. I'll give like an example of that is if you're driving your car to Perth, how does the universe help with giving you what you want, which might be running into somebody that just happens to have the answers to what you're seeking, whether it be some advice on a particular topic but if you're in your car and you're driving to Perth, how many people does the universe have an opportunity to cross paths with to help align the right people in the right places? But if you catch a bus, it's a lot easier for the universe to align what you need, because you're interacting, you're in that sort of unknown state of who are you going to cross paths with. And I feel that happens in community as well. Like, because you're around like many people, you can have conversations, and it allows the universe to tell you what you need to know, because it can happen through other people. So what you want to do is create scenarios in your life being in this unknown state, in unknown space, where many things can happen. So like in the barn, every night we have different people coming through. Every night we have a different vibe. We got music last night, tonight it's a movie, the next night it's no music, just quiet, people reading books. I don't know, it's like you're in this flow state, and it allows opportunities for the universe to interact with you a lot better. And because I believe that the universe, the great mother, the womb of creation, has our best intentions in mind, wants us to expand, to raise our consciousness, wants to give us love, wants us to, like, we are her children, and the lives that we encounter are all lessons to help us expand our consciousness. And ultimately, that's because she cares. Because the higher you expand your mind, your truth, the more you understand, the more you can find joy and peace and happiness. So yeah, we need to actually throw ourselves into those unknown places. And being in a monthly job, it's a lot harder to do that. I'm not saying there's anything like a monthly job, sorry, like a full-time job. Like don't get me wrong, there's many people, like guys I worked with in the oil and gas industry, there's some guys that just love their job to bits. Like they had found their thing and they did a really good job. They did amazing. Like this is the thing, when people find their passion and their skill that like they want to offer to the world, they will love it. And that there are people that love working on an oil rig and going offshore and being away from home for a month, and yeah, because they love their job. And that's perfect. That's what we want to find. We all need to find that perfect job. And then it's not a job anymore, it's not even work, it's play. Like I met a few guys on the rigs, such big machinery, big equipment, big cranes, big boats, big everything, like all big heavy machinery and equipment, high dollar items, no expense spared in a way. But that's pretty exciting. And if you're right into all the mechanical side of things or the electronics, and it's all high-tech stuff, and for some that's what they love to do. And so that's the importance of finding those passions. And yeah, monthly paycheck works for some. I'm not saying everyone has to leave that place, but there are others that are locked in a monthly paycheck job, that are miserable, that are depressed, that are overweight, that are just not living their life. And those people need to listen to their hearts and listen to listen to what the universe is telling them. Like, where are you meant to be? Like, if you're depressed and you hate your job, that's a fucking sign that you need to move. And unfortunately, with medicine, prescription medicine, we tend to give people this prescription, these SSRIs or anti-anxiety, I don't know what they're called, but we give them these medicines which simply numb us. It's like, it doesn't make us quit our job, it just basically keeps us in the job, but we're not quite as, we lose our passion. That's probably what it does, is it takes away our passion. And we just we settle. And I think the drugs help with that settling, helps take away that desire for the unknown, that desire for pushing past boundaries. And that's why this is not the solution. The solution is to encourage people to find what they really want to do, to find where their heart is guiding them. But that's a scary place, especially in the Western world. We have no support for anyone. Well, there is support. That's an incorrect statement, but the support could be a lot better. So if I want to start up a jewelry making business, and I'm living in the city and I'm paying a mortgage, and I've got 3 kids, and I've got to pay my rego every year, I've got fuel, like, how the hell am I going to jump out of a monthly paycheck, go into the unknown? Maybe the business is not going to be successful, maybe it will. It's a big step. And if you got 3 kids, you got debts, generally is that stops people taking those risks, and then because of those risks that of complete failure, then no one jumps, and then you become more and more miserable because you're sad. You really don't like what you're doing deep down. It's soul destroying rather than soul expanding. And you become overweight, you get sick, your health starts to deteriorate. Next thing you know, you're 60 and you didn't chase those dreams. And to me, this is the way our society is structured. It doesn't want people to chase their dreams. Now, there are some people that can chase their dreams and do chase their dreams. And I think that's why we have we still have a lot of creativity in the world. Like the Western world is very creative. So there are those people that take the jump, and maybe they've got a bit more support, maybe they've got people around them that can help guide them, but they did take the jump. But there's also 98% of the population that haven't taken the jump, that are just driving the bus, just doing things that they don't really desire to do. Don't get me wrong, there's people that love driving buses and they're happy and content with that, and that's good. We need bus drivers. But
No,
we don't. What? No, what?
it's not working. Not so easy.
I think I need this internet adapter,
Yep.
Ethernet thing, and then I just saw they actually we're just trying to hook up a relay for Starlink. Hey Mango, so we can beam Starlink over the property, so everyone can have access to the internet. They sell a router,
Yep.
Starlink.
Yep.
I think I saw it's $150 or something. Maybe just get a couple of them. I'm sure they're like high-end routers. But you could set that up off but how much data do you get a month?
Yeah, I can set it off mine. Mine's unlimited.
Oh, unlimited?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I
Just
can
run
set-
it
I
to
can
the
set it
dome?
up off mine and just run the Ethernet cord to it. And
Yeah.
then it beams it out.
Yeah.
And there's-
Yep. Until we get the Starlink one. Cool. Yeah, it'd be amazing to get so we've got the Starlink here. We beam, we get some relays and we relay it up to the house, and then we relay it to the workshop. And eventually we'll have it all over the whole property. It'd be interesting to see how that works and the speeds. But I checked the speed on the Starlink earlier today, and it was at 197 megabits a second. Not too shabby, I say, for out in the country. Yeah, so this idea of jumping into the unknown, it's how the universe works. But it takes courage to do that. Yeah, so what you can do in a community, though, the beautiful thing of a community is, a creative community, is you provide spaces for people to come and live here, and you provide spaces so they can live out their passion. So that if their dream is to do pottery, you have and the beautiful thing is you have experts here that do pottery on a daily basis. So if someone wants to learn how to do pottery, there you go. You got three masters in this one spot. So it instantly there's an advantage to being in the community. But then you have other advantages. You have the cost to live here is way less than having your own house and having an apartment in the city. You really don't need a car here. It is a nice thing to have. But like, we just set up a mystery bus stop just at the front of the barn here. We put a few chairs there, and we said we will so anyone driving out, you can get a lift with them to wherever they're headed. So it's like you get away without a car here as well. So there's another expense that you don't need. We were talking about getting mopeds, like little electric bikes. So you could still drive to Margaret River or Augusta, and you just charge the bikes on the solar panels here. You don't need to go fast. But you think about how people used to travel on horseback. To go to Margs, it's like 26 k's, so it'd take you a day. Like moped, at least you can sit on 60 quite comfortably. Take you an hour to get there. 60? No, it'd take you 40 minutes to get there. So yeah, you can minimize your costs, expenses on transport. You have people cooking food here, so you can save on food costs. You have so much knowledge and wisdom of everyone around. So like we were talking today just about the workshops, and Leah, I'm trying to think what happened, but yeah, we've got a poetry workshop on tomorrow morning for breakfast. You know, and that was created by people talking together and saying, yeah, let's do this, and like you're feeding off each other, and a really great idea comes out. And that is what happens when people get together and talk. And I feel it, like, in a way, it's allowing the universe to be able to communicate. Like the beautiful Boh Sho always said, it's like what we become we become like a flute on the lips of the infinite. Like, I love that. It's such a beautiful saying. But ultimately, when you become clear and in the moment, you start to channel the divine. We become these. We become like, how would I explain it? That divine. We're controlled by the divine. We are guided by the divine. We're guided by the universe. So we are the right people come into our spheres. So it's like the divine is always guiding and presenting situations for us, and being in that unknown space, being in a community. You come across the right people at the right time, have a conversation with them. The right new people come to the community who have unique skills that they can offer. You're open to these ideas. You're open to these flows of energy. So if you're wanting to do jewelry, there's probably 4 or 5 people here that already make jewelry, and so you can learn an immense amount from them. Or pottery, or it becomes this creative hub. Because so if you want to just set up a business making jewelry or pottery on your own, you've got a lot more outlays because you've got to buy the equipment. You don't have as many mentors or masters to help. You've got to go and seek them out. You've got to probably pay them money. Where in the community, it's a sort of a trading system. So someone who knows pottery can teach someone who doesn't, and then you can swap, like with a massage, or someone cooks a meal, or it's like all this trading of services and goods. It's like that creates this feedback loop. I scratch my back, you scratch mine. So, and simply just being around very creative people inspires. It's like a win-win-win-win-win-win. So many advantages to for somebody who wants to create or follow their passion. So many encouraging steps that occur in the community that you would not. It's a lot harder. You need a lot more. You need a lot more oomph from yourself to get moving when you're just on your own. Yeah, so many benefits. And so by creating these creative hubs, creative communities, kinship between all of us, creation happens on a broad scale, and abundance happens because we're all feeding, we're all inspiring, we're all growing together. So that is my dream, to build a community that is creative, that has many, many spaces that allow for many, many types of activities so people can fulfill their dreams. Like my dream is to ride horseback and shoot targets with archery. That's one of my dreams. I want to become a good archer. I want to become a good horse rider. And you know what was really interesting? I've been investigating Zoroastrianism. It's a religious monotheistic religion from 4,500 years ago. Plus. The Persian Empire utilized this religion in their world. And they said that you should teach a boy 3 things. Where did I write it? Let me find it, because it was good. Maybe I didn't write it down. Well, 2 of them were horse riding and archery. And the third one was, I'm pretty sure it was to do with a good mind. That's right, it was a good mind. Yeah, so I've been looking at this Zoroastrianism because I'm investigating how tribal systems and even kingdoms, even all types of civilizations from the past, and how did they structure their systems? How did they treat their people? How were they ruled? How was what was their success? Did they look after their people? Was there harmony? Was there happiness? And of course it's hard to determine that. But you can learn a lot from these civilizations. We've got like thousands of years of wisdom there that we can take and learn from, and then restructure our society to better suit people's harmony, people's happiness, people's joy, people's kinship. I love the word kinship. Kinship's my new favorite word, because it's like family. It's like being with family, but they're not family. They're just part of your group, your tribe. And that takes time, and it takes activities. it takes it takes a lot of work. It also takes the desire for kinship. But I feel that you can see through history these moments of civilization where there was harmony, where there was beauty, there was respect for the people. Yeah, it's really interesting. I read about. I'm going to tell you about these guys because this was the Turkish Sultan, the Ottoman Empire. Did you know they used to go and take children from the European countries of Albania, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, Greeks and Serbs were taken, levied, subject to circumcision and converted to Islam and incorporated in the Ottoman army. They became famed for their internal cohesion, cemented by strict discipline and order. Unlike typical slaves, they were paid regular salaries, forbidden to marry before the age of 40 or engage in trade. And they had complete loyalty to the Sultan was expected. So these guys, for hundreds of years, would go and, because they were the Ottoman Empire was very powerful, they would go and raid other empires, other civilizations, countries, and take the children and use them, and then basically brainwash them into a army. So these guys, these Janissaries, actually became very powerful army unit. So here it says here, from 1380 to 1648, Janissaries, so that's like 300 years almost, were gathered through the Devsumi system. It was a practice of forcibly recruiting soldiers and bureaucrats from among the children of their Balkan Christian subjects. Those coming from the Balkans came primarily from noble Balkan families and Raya classes. Wow, I want to know more. But yeah, so they took the best, the strongest kids, and then created an army out of them. But these kids became a very powerful force, and they became the guards of the Sultan. But to me, like, would you call that a good system? Like taking children from other countries? To me, that's not really the best. You're not getting a lot of good karma from doing that. Like that, to me, there's faults in the way that system is run. Okay, it works for a while, but it's gonna fail at some point because you're cheating. You're forcing something on the natural flow of harmony. Like if you've got kids that are 6 and then they're sent off to an Islamic family, ripped out of their own families, and then forced to learn Islam, and then forced to be in the army, and I guarantee it was, how did they force it? It was the threat of death, maybe it was the threat of their families being massacred. Like, this is heavy-handed with a fist, the iron fist type governing. And to me, this is not the right type of governing. Like, you govern by allowing people to be free and to choose where they want to be. Like, how many of these kids were forced to be soldiers and they just weren't soldiers? Maybe these kids just wanted to be farmers living on their land in Serbia. So yeah, that's it's just something I just discovered today. I saw a TikTok video of a guy talking about this, that his families are from the Janissaries, and that they were abducted from their Balkan countries, and then basically, yeah, it's like the stolen generations of the Aboriginals. It's like this happened for 350 years for the Balkan countries by the Ottoman Empire. It's like, damn, something I'd never even heard of. It says here, this, however, Jews were never subject to Devon Surmi, nor were children from Turkish families. There is, however, evidence. Oh, you're a bloody legend. Can I have a little bit more? Thank you. Thank you kindly. Hard to eat on a podcast, though. Just get some fruit and nuts. So, there is, however, evidence that Jews tried to enroll in the system. Jews were not allowed in the Janissary army, and so, in suspect cases, the entire batch would be sent to the imperial arsenal as indentured labourers. Ottoman documents from the levy of the winter of 1603 to 04 from Bosnia and Albania wrote to draw attention to some children as possibly being Jewish. In the early days, all Christians were enrolled indiscriminately. Enrolled. That's a funny word for it. Later, those from what is now Albania, Bosnia, and Bulgaria were preferred. Janissaries were capicolari sing, door servants or slaves at the porta. What's porta? It's part of the central government. I don't want your bum in my face, mister. Come on. It says here, Sublime Port, also known as Ottoman Port or High Port, was a sinishdosh for the central government. A gate. There's so much to learn in history. So it's a gate entering into the palace. Yeah, these... Hey, mister. Cats and keyboards. Mango. Yeah, so this is a very interesting practice, and to me, this is a beautiful thing about looking at history and understanding like how each civilization, treated their people. And to me, taking boys, it says usually between 6 and 14 were then taken from their parents, circumcised, and sent to the Turkish families in the province to be raised as Muslims and learn Turkish language and customs. Once their military training began, they were subject to severe discipline and bad beatings. Prohibited from growing a beard, and that's, these Balkan, they're all the tribal, these people all grew beards. It was part of their culture, and so to not be able to grow a beard was probably a little bit of the Sultanate's way of keeping the power from these people. Cheers, man. As a result, Janissaries were extremely well-disciplined troops and became members of the Akan class, the first class citizens of the military, which would be the warrior clans. Askeri. First class citizen or military class. So that's like, if you look at the caste system, there's the noble priests, then you have the warriors, which in the Ottoman Empire they called them Askeri. It says most of them non-Muslim origin because it was not permitted to enslave a Muslim. Wow. According to paintings in the late 16th century, a sultan gave in to pressures of the corpse and permitted janissary children to become the members of the corpse. A practice strictly forbidden for previous 300 years. Wow. So the children of the janissary, so they were allowed to marry. So yeah, many rules, because when you try and rule the people by force, you have to keep adding rules. People want to break away and they can't. So more and more rules fall on top of each other, and eventually the system fails. That's my interpretation of it. You have to have a form of freedom of the people. People have to be able to choose what they want to do. And yeah, so we can go back in time, in history, and see where different cultures treated their people differently, and we can learn from that. Alright, I'm going to go get a coffee, and I'm going to have something to eat. I'm going to just put something really interesting on for you all. This is cool. I'm really interested in the like European history. This is the Battle of Agincourt history march. We'll put this on, and actually I have to do it through my phone because we're playing music through the speaker on my laptop. We'll just start up the phone. But yeah, there's so much to learn from history. It's amazing, and we're really in an amazing time because we've got so much content creators on YouTube that are creating amazing videos on all the different battles, different cultures, it's really fun. Like this guy's history march, they just, I see here they got a Battle of Dara, 530, how Belarusians used trench warfare, Battle of Catalonia Plains, 451. I mean, when you start looking at YouTube and all the battles, you're like, holy crap, our whole European world has just been conquer, defeat. It's been a real battle. And yeah, now we can start to put it all together, all these pieces of the puzzle, all these battles. Like, what was going on? What were we all fighting for? My original understanding was that it was to do with, you just got a king that wants power and wants to hold on to it, and wants to expand his kingdom. But is there anything deeper to that? And my feeling that I'm leaning towards is that there's been two types of civilizations in the past. There's been the civilization that cared for its people, and then there's the civilization that used its people for the power trip of the rulers. And to control the people, you have to implement rules. You've got to come down hard on people if people aren't in this flowing state, in this happy state, in this just loving life. Like if you're in that state, you don't need rules. people expand their minds to a point where they just freely live and create and cause harmony. But as soon as you put rules in place, like strict rules, you can't shave your beard. Like when freedom is affected, and usually freedom is affected as soon as rules come in place, then the system is going to fail. Now you could say, well, what about if people care, if the governing authorities cared about the people? What examples do we have in civilization? And how long did they last? Now, if you look at the Egyptian civilization, like that was a civilization that lasted for 3,000 years plus. Like, do you know how solid that system would have had to be to last that long? The only way for it to function correctly is that the people loved their rulers, loved the system that they lived under, and they were happy to work hard. They weren't slaves. They were like willing participants in that society. Maybe slaves were used from conquered nations, I don't know. Maybe the people were slaved. But for me, realizing that for something to last so long, you have to have that harmony. Because if you beat the people down too much, they'll either rise up or they'll stop working. Because if they're miserable and sad, it only takes a couple of generations and then they're of no value anymore. So yeah, definitely something to think about and to investigate for yourself. Like looking at different ruling techniques of the past. How did the Greeks do it? How did the Romans do it? Like, you see a lot of stories about the Romans. Like, I question their system as well. They were able to conquer a lot of the world, but they used a very heavy fist. You can see the way they did it with, like, having the, what did they call it? The Colosseum. And they would bring barbarians, tribal, Germanic and Frankish, and people from all over the region. I guess the people that had been conquered, they would bring them to the Colosseum and they would fight between each other to the death. They would bring animals from all over the world, or from Africa, and they would put them in the Colosseum. Like, how, to me, that's barbaric. Where you compare the games that were happening in Scotland, the Highland Games, there's no killing. Like, you get to throw a log and it's more celebration. So, like, you can see these little clues of history and how different civilizations were. I think we can, there's little clues as to the success of a civilization, the success of the harmony of the people, and we need to definitely look into it deeper, which I am. I'm trying to find time every day, as much time as I can, to keep investigating. But yeah, that's an interesting find, the Janissaries of the Balkans that were kids taken by the Sultan. Bet you didn't know about that, or very few people know about it. So yeah, okay, let me find you something to listen to. Oh, that's what I was doing. Sorry, I just rebooted my phone. Okay. The Battle of Agincourt. The cool thing about Agincourt, well, I understand Henry V. So, pardon me. Okay. history. We'll put this on. Okay, I'll just line up that. So I'll give you the year 1415, the first occasion since 1359 that an English king had invaded France in person. That's amazing. One of the most renowned kings in history, Henry V, cheered his outnumbered troops to victory at Agincourt and eventually secured control of the French throne. Crazy man, though. He went with the army, and nice. Alright, so let's put this on for you all. What's it go for? 33 minutes. We won't probably play it this long, but yeah, have a listen.
They announced the start of a pleasant summer's day. Some 5,000 inhabitants of the port town of Harfleur, located close to the mouth of the river Seine, started their daily routines. By noon, French fishermen dotted the open sea, casting their nets just off the coast, when a horrifying sight appeared on the horizon. A vast array of ships heading south across the channel. The anticipated English invasion had finally come. The great victories at Crécy and Poitiers had brought vast expanses of French territory under the English crown. This apparently endless war that began in 1337 was fought over English claims to the French throne and various English possessions within France. But in the years since, most of these lands were lost through a lack of determined initiative and the distraction of dynastic squabbles at home, as well as the dark legacy of the Black Death that disrupted the social fabric of most of Europe. By the early 15th century, only a patchwork of French territories were still under English control. And now, in 1413, the 26-year-old Prince Henry V became the new King of England. Having inherited the throne from his father, who overthrew the prior King Richard II, Henry's position as ruler was far from secure in the early years of his reign, as sections of the nobility viewed him as the son of a usurper. Conspiracies soon arose against him. Although uncovered and ruthlessly suppressed, the political discord and tension between the nobility and the royal house was laid bare. Nevertheless, Henry saw an opportunity to both further reassert his authority at home and realize his ambitious plans abroad by looking across the Channel. France faced its own political crisis. King Charles VI's insanity weakened the kingdom, leaving the affairs of the state unattended, resulting in a power struggle among the nobility. This was the perfect moment for Henry to press his claims. He not only demanded Aquitaine and the lands ceded to the English at the Treaty of Bretigny, but also laid claim to former Angevin holdings of Brittany, Normandy, Maine, Anjou, and Touraine, as well as Flanders, which has never been in English hands. In addition, the French were to pay the outstanding 1.6 million crowns from the ransom of John II, captured at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356. And Henry would get Princess Catherine's hand in marriage, King Charles' young daughter, along with a dowry of 2 million crowns. For some perspective, the price of a war horse would have been around 80 crowns. So the total amount of 3.6 million that Henry asked for could buy 45,000 war horses, an amount close to $550 million in today's money. In return, the English king would renounce his claim to the French throne, inherited from his great-grandfather, Edward III, who was a maternal grandson of the former French king, Philippe IV. Unsurprisingly, the government of King Charles, dysfunctional as it was, would not concede to such astronomical demands, instead offering a dowry of 600,000 crowns and an enlarged Aquitaine. The English saw this counteroffer as an insult, claiming that the French had mocked their claims and ridiculed the king himself. Henry seemingly believed that his claims were just, and in his mind, if he could not get justice, he would take by force what rightfully belonged to him. True to form, his preparations for war started long before negotiations with Charles broke down in June 1415. The wily English king used the protracted talks to secure the support, or at least the neutrality, of John the Fearless, Duke of Burgundy, which would deprive the French coast of maritime protection. And on August 11th, with fair wind, the English fleet set sail for France. The first objective was Harfleur. The fortified port had long been a thorn in England's side, serving as a base for frequent raids along the south coast. Capturing it would thereby reduce the threat against English ports and would serve as a vital base of operations into France, along with Calais, situated further up the coast. On the afternoon of August 14th, King Henry's army landed near the mouth of the river Seine. Upon landing in Normandy, the decision was made to surround the town and cut off possible reinforcements and supplies. Henry's brother, Thomas, Duke of Clarence, was sent to block off the eastern approach, while the king remained to deploy the main body of the army. Siege weapons and 12 guns had to be brought closer to the walls to be effective against Harfleur's strong defenses. The town, with its 5,000 inhabitants, was protected by 4.5-meter thick walls, water defenses, and 24 towers, with a well-defended port and a garrison of 250 men. In his message, Henry demanded surrender, attempting to instill fear in the minds of the populace by citing a biblical law that gave him the right to put the townsfolk to the sword if they refused to yield, due to his right to the French throne. Meanwhile, as Thomas advanced to surround the town on the landward side, a relief force appeared. 300 French men-at-arms rode with haste towards the gates, under the command of Raoul de Gaucourt. Although a small retinue, the presence of these professional soldiers would stiffen the resolve of the populace. Determined to resist the invading army, the French closed the sluice gates to inundate the valley to the north. Harfleur would not yield to Henry's demands for surrender. Soon after, the English siege train unleashed hell on the town. Over the course of a few days, the bombardment inflicted significant damage to the walls and towers, with some projectiles reaching buildings in the middle of the town. The threat of death from above became a daily occurrence for the inhabitants. But the townsfolk and soldiers responded, manning the guns on the walls and bulwarks. They harassed and inflicted heavy losses on Henry's irreplaceable teams of gunners and siege engine crews, who had to get close to the walls to be effective, thereby placing themselves in a vulnerable position well within reach of the French. At night, the resilient defenders made frantic repairs to their damaged defenses, much to the astonishment and frustration of the English besiegers. And by early September, some 15 days into the siege, the summer heat turned the water in the flooded valley to the north into a stagnant and foul, disease-infested swamp. As the siege dragged on with little progress, dysentery began ravaging the English army. The dire situation forced Henry to adopt urgent measures. He ordered mines to be dug under the walls, intending to collapse the tunnels to undermine the town's defenses. However, his mining crews were frustrated by counter-tunnels dug by the French. The stubborn townsfolk would tunnel their way to intercept and damage the English works and attack their crews, sabotaging all attempts to undermine the town's walls. Above ground, the English king ordered the wooden towers to be brought up against the wall to launch an assault on the town. But by this time, the siege went on for a month. Although not lengthy by medieval standards, it required more time and resources than Henry anticipated. Unsanitary conditions, polluted water supplies, and, as suggested by a contemporary chronicler, bad effects of unripe fruit, grapes, and shellfish sapped the English army. And having thousands of men, horses, and other animals in close proximity, along with the waste they produced, created conditions that were ripe for infections. The outbreak of dysentery caused the death of many, while many more fell ill. Earls, knights, esquires, and archers alike were incapacitated, with many granted permission to return by ship to England to recover once the siege was over. However, reports of dysentery in Harfleur indicated that the siege began taking its toll on the town as well. But, despite privations, bombardment, and disease, the defenders rallied, launching a sortie on the English siege works.
Explaining all these historical events.
Led by Gaucourt, the French men-at-arms set fire to Henry's siege bastion before retreating to the safety of the defences. The English now faced the prospect of a prolonged stay under the walls of Harfleur. For Henry, it was now or never.
What's that?
The king launched a desperate assault on the bulwarks outside the main gate, supported by a constant rain of arrows. English bowmen managed to set fire to one of the towers using flammable arrows, which gave the dismounted men-at-arms the upper hand. Fierce fighting ensued as the French attempted to drive the English back. But the invaders took control of the gate fortifications, forcing the defenders to retreat into the town. On the following day, the king demanded surrender for the second time. Again, he was rejected. Frustrated, Henry sounded the trumpets for the troops to prepare a full assault, ordering the remaining guns to maintain a steady bombardment and not allow the defenders any sleep. Frightened of the prospect of the town being taken by storm, with the biblical law permitting the slaughter of the inhabitants if they refused to surrender, sections of the population wavered. Although he was determined to take the town by storm, Henry was relieved when the defenders agreed to open negotiations. Talks continued for 2 days until, on September the 18th, town officials agreed to yield Harfleur if no relief force came by September 23rd. Raoul de Gaucourt sent messages out, but received word that the French army had not yet gathered enough troops to give battle. No help would come. With no other choice, the Lord of Gaucourt surrendered the town on September 22nd. After Harfleur had capitulated, leading members of the defending garrison were set free on the condition that they gave themselves up as prisoners at Calais. English officials were placed in charge of the town, allowing the French inhabitants to remain if they swore an oath of fealty to Henry, while the rest were expelled. The invaders, meanwhile, incurred heavy losses. A third of the English army was either dead or incapacitated. Henry now had roughly 7,100 troops left at his disposal. After resting the men for a few weeks, the king garrisoned the town with 300 men-at-arms and 900 archers, before marching out into the rolling countryside of Normandy with 900 men-at-arms and 5,000 archers.
Wow.
It is close to noon on a damp autumn day, not far from the castle of Agincourt. The French army, led by Constable Charles d'Albret, stared down the invaders, eager to punish them for pillaging and burning their lands. The English, led by King Henry V, were outnumbered, hungry, and sick. Many of them anticipated that on this day they would die. Then, as one, they knelt in prayer. Every man kissed the ground and took a piece of dirt. When they rose to their feet, the English were ready to sell their lives dearly, to triumph or die.
Super fascinating.
English control, King Henry faced a dilemma. His strategic goal were the urban centers and fortifications of northern France, which, once conquered, would serve as bases from where his troops and administrators could subjugate and tax the...
Yeah, I just want to keep watching it. But I guess I have to do a podcast as well. Yeah, it's super interesting stuff. I'll have to watch that after. I love reading the comments. There's usually a lot of information in the comments as well. People who know what's going on. But yeah.
And disease, and winter was just around the corner. Worse, reports came of French forces being assembled near Rouen.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so what is it? 12:50. Let's see how long I've been podcasting for.
But Henry knew that conquering the principal North French port alone would not produce a sense of victory and authority he needed to secure his position at home, nor would it cover the vast borrowings for the campaign. Ignoring his counselors, Henry led his forces out of Harfleur, planning a swift mountain march to Calais. He sent orders to Governor William Bardolph to ride to the Somme estuary and secure the crossing point for the incoming English army. Henry's advisors argued that sailing through the Channel would be safer, but the king wanted to demonstrate that he could pillage northern France with impunity, lands that he claimed were his. However, upon learning of Henry's departure from...
Okay, enough of that. I highly recommend getting into history. There's so much we can learn, and there's so much that our world today is a direct result of our history, and these battles and the movement of people and rulers, and I mean it seems crazy that we had to be battling each other all like so often. Like this is the 100-year war that happened between England and France. Like I really don't know a lot about it, and I feel that there's a lot more that we can learn about how these rulers and what were they fighting for. Like, what? Obviously, it was. There you go, the Plantagenets. Have you heard of these guys? Let's have a look at these. It says it goes for 4 hours. Damn.
King Henry II of England was born on the 5th of March 1133 at Le Mans in Normandy in northern France. His father was Geoffrey, Count of Anjou, Touraine and Maine, and in that capacity he was the ruler of much of northwestern and central France, particularly those regions to the west of Paris, at a time when France was divided into a number of powerful principalities. Geoffrey was known by the epithet the Handsome, or the
So this is the interesting thing, what I really enjoy about this, is because I trace my family to my father's side. Morel, Morel, is a Norman name, and my family my dad's side come over from England, from Norfolk, which was a Northmen, Normans, North folk. This is where the Normans, when in 1066 when they came over from France, the Normans were the descendants of Rollo the Viking. Like these Normans that came from Scandinavia were fully organized. This is where I feel there's a little bit of a gap in history, because we're told that the Normans were a bunch of Vikings that came over and they were given land I'm pretty sure by Charlemagne in the 1000s, but then almost like maybe it was the 900s, but they just catapulted themselves into European society. Like they had huge gains throughout the as soon as they landed in France, and it wasn't long before they invaded England and took over the English throne. And these Plantagens are like Henry and that reign of kings were descendants of the Normans, and they had a huge influence on English government and systems, and those systems still exist in England today. So like these Normans had a huge influence. Like even the Bruce clan from Scotland. This clan came from the Normans. Like Robert the Bruce, who's like one of the greatest rulers, or like warrior kings, you could say. He was the first person to defeat the English. So this is the thing, is like, how do you interweave all the timelines? Like, I'm not sure when Robert the Bruce, that was 1600s maybe. So this is Agincourt was 1300. The Normans moved in to England around the 10th century, but they held power in England for a long time with the Plantagen kings, which is a family rule. And yeah, so that's always given me that interest in following the Normans, because I can trace my heritage back to that time in France with my name, my surname. So yeah, fascinating. I really feel that we haven't been told the truth about the Normans, because the Normans, like, they went into Sicily, they were used as the royal guards of many of the rulers in Europe. So who are these people? Where did they come from? Like, they just rocked up and then poof, infiltrated Europe. So I'd love to find out more truths about who these people were, because they were organized. They had to have been living in the Scandinavian countries with a very complex structure of systems. Like, they weren't just barbarians on boats. Their society was already organized before they arrived in France, is what I'm indicating. And you can see that from the way that they just catapulted themselves into European society. And like, my question is, how did the Normans get that amount of land given to them in the first place? The story is that the French, Charlemagne was sick of the Vikings raiding France and Paris. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe these Normans were, with the intention of getting land, blackmailing the king. It's like, we're going to keep doing little sorties on your country until you give us land. Who knows? But I would like to know more. Alright, so how long have we been podcasting for? 84 minutes, so an hour and a half. What else do I want to talk about tonight? I'll give you the elevator pitch for rebuilding community and changing the world through rebuilding those community tribal systems again. Okay, where do I start? So by living in community for the last 2 years, I've realized that this is the normal way to live. This is how we, as social beings, are meant to be. This is where we find our harmony. A great example is just raising children in our Western world now. It's super. We don't have any support anymore. We don't have support for one another. So, what support we're not like? You have 2 kids now. You got the mum and dad, and might be lucky if you got grandparents. Raise children in a community. You've got many uncles and aunties, many grandpas and grandmas, many other children around. So you're not raising children on your own. The whole community is raising children. Like, that is just one benefit of how we're meant to live. We're meant to live in these organized groups. And I think anyone who's had children in this world at the moment would agree that it's a very challenging thing to do. Go to work, come home, look after the kids. Kids have been to school all day. Like, there's many problems with the current system, where if we're all living in a community, we can have our own schooling system, we can have support for the children, like, everyone gets to know everyone. We find that kinship, that family connection with all the children, with all the parents, and we can all support each other. And you think about the influence that children are getting from having so many different influences. Elderly, young, middle-aged. We all have something to share, and it's of immense benefit for those children. So yeah, elevator pitch. I'm talking on here. Harmony in a tribe is what we seek. I think we that's all we want as humans. We want to live in a peaceful life, a passionate life, one of joy, one of laughter, one of connection. And we need to move back to that place, because we've come away from this harmony. The system is not harmonious. You do have pockets of it. Like, I'm living this system, but I'm in a harmonious place. But I'm also broken out of the system in many ways. So there are pockets of harmony in the current system, don't get me wrong. But the majority, it doesn't seem to be benefiting. And I feel like it's only going to continue downwards. The challenges that this system bring, especially if there's economic upheaval, there's war, there's supply chain issues and delivering, being sustainability of the food supplies, all these different things. So the system's not working. Mental health's out of control. Humans are lonely as hell. We're just all separate. Old people don't mix with young people. Children don't mix with old people. We don't share wisdom and knowledge. Yeah, where you move back into this community tribal system, we can start all these things again. We can reconnect again. And we have to start that again. We've got to heal ourselves. We've got to learn to love one another again, to trust one another, to be encouraging the best in each other. So I propose, like, we have Mindful Earth Sanctuary. It's a demonstration project. It's a display home for what is possible. And we have many people coming through, and they get to see and feel what is possible. And we can scale this up to building a full scale tribe. 500 people, 1,000 people. We have the 12 clans. So we have 12 separate areas or 12 separate villages, all within a quite a close area all together. So the whole tribe is maybe all on one property, 100 acres, and you've got 12 clans, 12 groups of people living that make up that one tribe. The reason why you have 12 clans is this is the old Proto-Indo-European model, because 12 zodiacs, 12 types of people, 12 types of specializations that can make up the tribe. So you specialize, you have the warriors, maybe three types of, you have the archers, you have the knights, you have the foot soldiers, and they're in their each separate clans. And then you have the farmers, the goat, you breed goats, you have horses, they're all in their own individual clans as well. And you have your judges, you have your administrators, you have your trades, sword makers, metal blacksmiths, all the things you need to create a sustainable tribe. These guys from the past created that because they couldn't call FedEx and order stuff. They had to make, and so you had to have specialists in all these different skills to be able to be the most superior tribe. You imagine how much organization there is in building chariots, or building all the buckles and the straps to harness a horse. So many different factors that you need to take to create to allow that full functioning of an organic tribe. So what I'm proposing is we build a demonstration tribe based on that Proto-Indo-European model, and we show people how to do it. It becomes it's a tribe based on holistic healing therapies, celebration of life, having all different ways to connect people and form and build that kinship again that existed in the past in different tribe systems. And we build that, and we show people that it is possible, and we show the benefits and the amazingness of it. And then that allows us to raise more funds, that allows us to find more people who can contribute, who have many skills to offer, and then we start to build them all over the world. We build these tribes in every city, every country of the world. And these tribes become centers of excellence for the healing modalities. We become a shining example of a way to live, where harmony is our goal, where love is our goal, where kinship is our goal, and where we're all moving towards the same desire, which is to raise the vibration of our tribe, to raise consciousness, to create people that are overflowing with joy and love and bliss, and that people are living their best dreams. And we show that to the world, because I don't feel that there is a great example of what is possible. The only example I have is one of my gurus, you could say, Boh Sho. He, in the 80s, he created an ashram in Pune, and he created this energy that was so creative. You see some footage of the ashram when it was running for a few years. Like, it just looked like a joyful place. Everyone was making clothes. Everyone was, I don't know about food, but I'm sure there was food being grown. But there was a lot of activities for healing people, helping people expand their minds. It's truly a magical time. And if you watch the Netflix documentary Wild Wild Country, the first episode is quite good. You can get a understanding of what was so special about what was created there. You can hear it in the people's voices, even talking about it, 20 years later. They are still, you can feel their hearts. You can feel the emotions of memories that were so beautiful of the times they had, times they shared with amazing people. And that is, I really feel that is the ultimate goal of being a human. It's just personal connection. Personal loving connection with as many people as possible. And that, you could see that in the interviews. So that's really my only example, a modern example of a really harmonious community. A creative community. One of celebration community. So yeah, let's do it. Seeking angel investors who want to donate to this cause. We can negotiate how that investment is utilized. We really, what I would encourage people to do is come here and see the space and feel the space, and we can talk about the dreams for this place and how it can expand and how it can really make a change in the world. So yeah, we have many things we want to do, many things we want to create, and I just want to give people a place where they can be their highest self. It's hard to find that in the Western world at the moment. So we need to create those spaces where people can be safe and allow themselves to really express who they are. So yeah, that's my 5-minute elevator pitch. I'm working on getting it down to 5 minutes, and I'm working on speaking and summarizing it, the gist of let's build tribes so we can change the world, and let's use the past to teach us how to build these tribes. And the general aim, harmony, freedom. Harmony and freedom. They're pretty core tenets. They're the pillars. That's right, we said there was freedom, respect and trust were the 3 pillars. And on top of that is a huge slab of concrete. And that's called harmony. And that's what we seek. And I think when you attain harmony, abundance happens. Like, what comes first? The abundance or the harmony? I think harmony has to happen first, and then you evolve into abundance. Because when there's harmony, creation happens. And when creation happens, abundance happens. Yeah, it's a beautiful world we live in. We're living in amazing times. There's large changes afoot. Everyone can feel it. The world is like, the light is being shined on the world, and truth is coming out. we're in like this idea of revelations, revealing of the truth. The curtains are being opened, and we're seeing through the window. And my journey has shown me this requirement for us to move back into these harmonious groups of. It really, to me, feels like the only way. We start by building small groups of people in harmony, and then it spreads, it grows, and we just need to perfect the system. And as you say, there is no perfect, but there's, I think, a system that flows with nature is perfect, and we just need to create that. How do we create that? Freedom. How do we create that? Minimal guidelines. How do we create that? By putting trust in the people. How do we do that? We have leaders that have the people's best interests in mind. How do we do it? The leaders, the rulers, respect the people. Like I feel there's an immense disrespect from the rulers of most countries now, and it's like, this is great. Coming back to the Bhutan happiness index. This happiness index should be a requirement for every country, and it will be I see it as being an essential part of the tribal system. That census on how each individual member is feeling. Yeah, let's start asking how people are feeling. Alright, this has been amazing. I'm glad that I'm here talking about these topics, learning to talk about these topics. The more I speak about it, I feel like the more words I have, the more ways that I express it, and the less ums and ahs I put into this discussion. We have a guy doing video movies at the moment, so tomorrow we'll be in the barn. He's going to interview a few people, and he wants to do a snapshot of each person that's staying here, so he can include that in his movie. Really exciting, and yeah, I look forward to another podcast tomorrow. Oh, it won't be tomorrow night. We've got a Sunday fun day, birthday party tomorrow night from 3 to 10. So if I get an opportunity to do a podcast tomorrow. Otherwise it'll be on Monday. So much love, much respect, much amazingness. And yeah, please, if you want to be on our podcast, I would love you to. I really feel like we need to speak, we need to share our wisdom, and the best way to do it is to sit down without distraction for an hour, 2 hours, and just talk it out. So much we have to share now. Okay. Love you all.